Patrick Mahomes. The political climate of this country more charged than ever. Patrick Mahomes' wife, Brittany, endorsing Donald Trump for president here in the year of 2024, and her new BFF forever, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce's flame. They spend a lot of time in luxury suites together, as you may know. The NFL likes to show you that about 172 times a week. Taylor Swift, to a lot of social media reaction, has endorsed Kamala Harris for president. And so I don't know. Are they going to be sitting further apart in those luxury suites? It's hard to say. Is there a fracture within the Chiefs family? But Patrick Mahomes taking a step back and basically saying that he doesn't want any part of making a political endorsement. His wife has probably already brought enough political scrutiny upon the Mahomes family already. Let's take a look at what Patrick Mahomes had to say when asked if he planned to take a stand on the 2024 presidential election.
Yeah, I think I've always said I don't want my place and my platform to be used to endorse a candidate or do whatever. Either way, I think my place is to inform people to get registered to vote. It's to inform people to do their own research and then make their best decision for them and their family. And so I think that's every time I'm on this stage and I get asked these questions, I'm going to refer back to that because I think that's what makes America so great.
Patrick Mahomes taking the position of my name's Paul and that's between y'all. He doesn't want any of the smoke. He'd rather just focus on playing quarterback. And that seems to be a sentiment that was echoed by Caitlin Clark, everyone's favorite basketball player. She caught some attention and was asked about a like that she gave Taylor. And isn't this the most 2024 thing ever? Let me tell you, Caitlin Clark liked Taylor Swift's Instagram post. And everybody's talking. It's like we're all in junior high, isn't it? But she liked Taylor Swift's Instagram post stating that she was going to be voting for Kamala Harris, which some have inferred might mean that Caitlin Clark also supports Kamala Harris. So she was asked about this recently, and here was Caitlin Clark's response.
Caitlin, you liked an Instagram post last night from Taylor Swift that got a lot of attention. And I'm just curious if you could tell us what that post meant to you and if you are in fact potentially going to endorse Kamala Harris. Thank you.
I think for myself is, I have this amazing platform, so I think the biggest thing would be just to encourage people to register to vote. I think for myself, this is the second time I can vote in an election. At age 22, I could vote when I was 18. So I think do that. That's the biggest thing I can do with the platform that I have. And that's the same thing Taylor did. And I think continue to educate yourself with the candidates that we have, the policies that they're supporting. I think that's the biggest thing you can do. And that's what I would recommend to every single person that has that opportunity in our country.
No, Scott.
I'm going to translate that for you. Aw, shit. I forgot that likes were visible on Instagram. I don't know. She probably knows that they're visible. She liked it, so I don't know. What does that really mean? But she's not going to take a stance. She's not going to say it. She's going to stay out of the fray. Caitlin Clark and Patrick Mahomes, no endorsement publicly in this election. And people get stirred up over this. Steph Curry was part of the Democratic National Convention. LeBron James has been pointed with some of his political beliefs and leanings. Hulk Hogan was at the Republican National Convention. And anytime you're an athlete and you take a stand politically, there is going to be praise for that. And there's going to be criticism for that. Some athletes don't mind it. Steve Kerr, the coach of the Golden State Warriors, obviously talks about politics a lot. And it has made him a much more polarizing figure than you would think somebody like Steve Kerr could be. But if you want to be controversial, step into the arena of politics. Dip a toe in it a little bit. I know that personally. I spent 10 years at Super 70 Sports trying to unite the fucking world, a refuge from political talk, and it still is over on X. And anybody who watches this show and really listens to this show, I would like you to believe that I'm a political moderate, because I am. But once you opine about anything politically, the one thing that is for sure is that you will piss people off. Michael Jordan was criticized a lot during his career for not using his platform to speak out on various social justice matters that people thought he could be a powerful voice to move forward. And Michael Jordan famously said, Republicans buy sneakers too. Michael Jordan was trying to push sneakers and Gatorade and Hanes underwear to everybody. Independents, Republicans, Democrats, because Michael Jordan realized that a dollar spends just as good no matter who you get it from. But here's my take. There are a lot of people who say, hey, shut up and dribble, or whatever the cliche is, right? When an athlete comes out with a political take, if they disagree with it. If they happen to agree with it, wonderful. My hero is like-minded with me. People never object to that. But when an athlete has a different opinion than the opinion that the fan holds, well, it's like, shut up and don't encroach on my life with your political opinion. Look, here's how I see it. I'm the First Amendment guy. What do I push on this program? My political party is the First Amendment. That's really where I'm coming from this year. And so whether I like your opinion or whether I don't like your opinion, I think athletes and celebrities are like anybody else. Some choose to make it a very public thing where they want to use the status and stature that they have to try to influence others. And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, you're an American. You can be as public with your political beliefs as you want to be. Or you can take the tact that Patrick Mahomes has chosen and that Caitlin Clark was saying in her press conference there, answering the question. You can be very private about it. That's also your choice. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer here, because in this country, you should have the freedom to come out and say whatever it is that you believe. Now, you're going to have to live with the fallout from it, if there is any. You're going to have to live with the fans that you may lose. You're going to have to live with the questions that the media hits you with based on whatever it is that you've said you believe. But if you're willing to do that, have at it. There were a lot of people who were disappointed in Taylor Swift for endorsing Kamala Harris. Well, whatever you think of Taylor Swift or whatever you think of Kamala Harris is immaterial. Taylor Swift is an American who has an opinion, and she's chosen to share it. And that's her decision. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, that's her call. And Patrick Mahomes made a different call. He made a safer call. He made a call that affords him the luxury of staying out of the political minefield that you got to be so careful. Because once you start walking in the political minefield, you may lose a limb in the landscape of 2024. So he's not entirely out of it, is he? His wife sort of dragged him in, whether he wanted to go or not, and he decided he didn't want to go any further into those waters. I bring in now the international streaming star, a man who has captivated America as my sidekick on this program from Nashville, Tennessee. The one and only Ronnie T-Shirts joins me as he always does. Ronnie, Patrick Mahomes and Caitlin Clark, not particularly interested in jumping into the deep end of the political pool, it seems. How would you feel if you were in their shoes, if you were a prominent athlete, do you think that you would be compelled to speak out about what you believe, or would you play it more neutral?
Well, first of all, I think I'm on the same level as them. I mean, I am an international streaming star, so let's, I guess, make that perfectly clear. Ricky, I can't imagine being, I don't know what my word is, pathetic or stupid that you give a flying rat's ass what a celebrity or an athlete thinks about who they should vote for president or governor or mayor or anything. Like, I just can't imagine. Like, why would a person actually, it just blows my mind. But as an international streaming star, I just think that you take the approach that Caitlin and Patrick and Michael Jordan do, which is the truth for me, because I truly, like, I don't care who you vote for. But I believe you said something significantly more eloquently than I'm about to say on a previous show. I don't care who you vote for. What I care about is that you make a really good, researched, rational decision about who you're going to vote for, and vote for that person because it makes the most sense for you and your family. That's really all I care about. I don't want people voting on vibes and personality and not wanting to, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that secretly want to vote for Trump, but they'll never say it because they don't want to get, bombarded and ostracized in public. I think we've gotten to the point where who you vote for should just be who you vote for. But all I ask, like you did, just be smart about it. Be smart about who you're voting for.
Well, Ronnie, you said it very well. I agree with you. I don't mind who anybody votes for, but don't vote for somebody because they're so brat. Do you think there's people that are going to actually vote for Kamala Harris because she's brat? I still don't understand what brat is, but yeah, it's like the reasoning behind it is sometimes more important than the end outcome, right? If somebody can sit down and say, I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris because I agree with her on these 8 important issues to me, that's a different thing than saying I'm going to vote for somebody, no matter who they are, Kamala or Trump, because they make me feel good. Caitlin Clark, let's take a look here. She plays basketball when she's not taking political questions, Ronnie, and the Indiana Fever has been on quite a run lately. They lost last night, however. Caitlin Clark taking a hard foul during the game. She thought that maybe it should have been a flagrant foul. I think the contact was inadvertent, but she took another hard tumble last night. We've kind of got a microscope on Caitlin Clark right now. Anytime that there's anything that even resembles a mild dust up on the court, people jump to conclusions. It looked like good, clean basketball to me, the play that I saw. A'ja Wilson last night of the Las Vegas Aces, setting a new WNBA record for single season scoring, Ronnie. And it appears to me that A'ja Wilson has the WNBA MVP award on ice. And I think that this will be her 3rd MVP, if I am not mistaken. Caitlin Clark has made a terrific run this year at that MVP award, but I think A'ja Wilson has been the class of the WNBA this season, Ronnie. We're going to be having a lot of fun here once the WNBA playoffs roll around. I never thought that would come out of my mouth, Ron. But I'm actually looking forward to the WNBA playoffs, and if Caitlin Clark can take the Indiana Fever on a Cinderella run.
Yeah, you might need to get a special guest host for when you have those conversations, because I will not be watching any of those games. I'll just have to take your word for it.
Well, that's the spirit, Ron. Yeah, so let's go to the poll of the day. The poll of the day, by the way, over at Super 70 Sports. I'm going to give Ron all the credit or all the blame. All 4 choices today brought to you courtesy of the international streaming star Ronnie T-shirts. And Ronnie, what do we have? I'm going to let you take a walk through these 4 choices. Let's get inside the brain of Ronnie T-shirts here as we talk about the first poll, I guess, that you constructed completely yourself.
Well, look, I think we're all about transparency on this show. And the truth is, I gave you 4 and you pushed back on it because you thought a couple of them were too strong. And you made me dig deep and try to come up with something that would have, a better chance of hitting that elusive 25, 25, 25, 25. So we'll be fair.
I coached you up a little bit.
Coached me up a little bit. Yeah. So yeah. I'm just going to tell you. So I truly believe that had Nirvana never existed and then came out today, I think they'd be popular. Like I think Nirvana is just an awesome, awesome band. And I think it translates across time. Heather Locklear, we chose her because she's gorgeous, she's hot, but she's not upper echelon like on everybody's Mount Rushmore. The Office, pretty strong, not exactly a Seinfeld. And then, my first thought in my brain was pizza, but pizza would just win in an absolute landslide. So I said, okay, what do I like to get when I go to an Italian restaurant? And it's lasagna. So that's why I came up with these 4. So Ricky, right, so you always ask me, all right, Ron, who'd you pick? So Ricky, who'd you pick?
All right, I'm going to give you my breakdown. First of all, I agree with you on Nirvana completely. My 18-year-old daughter loves Nirvana. She actually just sent me a message, texted me from college yesterday. Did you see where Dave Grohl apparently knocked somebody up who isn't his wife?
Dude.
Everybody is devastated by this because everyone thought that Dave Grohl was just the Mr. Rogers of rock and roll, but apparently he's a scumbag. He's a fallible scumbag is a little strong. I mean, he made a sexual indiscretion, Ron.
Well, it's not his first. He admitted well, it's not. He's a scumbag.
Okay.
You don't do that to your family.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you don't do that to your family.
That's a harsh take. I'm not in favor of adultery by any means, Ron, but no. Dave Grohl, scumbag is hitting him pretty hard. You said that Heather Locklear isn't upper echelon. The misogynistic Ronnie T-shirts coming out, judging Heather Locklear.
Yeah, she's not Farrah Fawcett or Linda Carter.
Well, you had Linda Carter originally, and I told you Linda Carter is beer. If you thought beer did well, Linda Carter is about ready to boat race everybody here. She was going to get 50%, I promise you. The Linda Carter love among the Super 70s audience is off the charts. So we toned it down a little bit to Heather Locklear. The Office, I think, is going to do very well, and then lasagna. So here's my prediction before producer Tim cast his vote. I think that it's between Nirvana and The Office. I think Heather Locklear will run a respectable third, and lasagna will finish fourth. I am going to predict Nirvana first over The Office, although I think that could go either way. Heather Locklear third place, lasagna fourth. Producer Tim, do your thing. My vote, by the way, is for Nirvana. The excitement builds. All right, I can't read it, Ronnie. My laptop's dead today for some reason.
All right, you ready?
And I can't see that well, so yeah.
You're incredibly wrong. Yeah, you were incredibly wrong. Nirvana is in fourth place. Lasagna just a tiny bit above that in third. Heather at 33 and a third. And then The Office at 26%.
Man, that just tells you the power of women, doesn't it?
It really does.
She wasn't really a good actress. She's pretty. I mean, I guess she's an okay actress. Lasagna's beating Nirvana. I was saying earlier, when you chose Nirvana and Lasagna, you replaced your original choices were U.S. national parks and what, gyros?
Euros, yeah.
Gyros. I've lived in Chicago for 20 years and I never have figured out how to pronounce it. I can't believe that Lasagna. How many times has Garfield voted? Ronnie?
Well, I think Garfield Garfield makes some appearances in the mentions.
Yeah, when you said Nirvana and Lasagna, I said that sounds like what you were rapping when Al Jarreau was beatboxing for you. I'm here with Al Jarreau, Nirvana, Lasagna.
Had the lock clear in the office.
Al Jarreau was so high he didn't even care if it rhymed or not, Ron. He was just in his underwear full of Domino's pizza, just
Blue
giving
jockeys.
you a beat. Absolutely. The same man who was part of the We Are the World video. It was a pretty steep fall for Al Jarreau. All right, Ron, we're going to follow up a little bit on this Tyreek Hill story that we've been monitoring. Tyreek Hill, of course, as you probably know by now if you haven't been living under a rock, was pulled over by Miami police on Sunday shortly before the Dolphins-Jaguars game in Miami. He was cited for reckless driving and not wearing a seatbelt. Not wearing a seatbelt that's always one they just tack on there. That's just like a extra fuck you offense, if you ask me. I've always felt like if you're an adult and you don't want to wear a seatbelt, that's your decision. If you want to go through the windshield, dumbass, then have at it, in my opinion. But anyway, Tyreek Hill was driving irresponsibly, and then he didn't comply with police officers. Tyreek Hill said that he did everything right. That was his initial take on the situation, but he is taking a few steps back. He's backpedaling a little bit after calling for the officer to be fired already. He now says that, maybe he could have done things a little bit differently. Let's take a look at what Tyreek Hill is saying now about his actions on Sunday.
But the thing about me is, man, I don't want attention. I don't want to be like cameras out, phones on you, in that moment. But at the end of the day, I'm human. I gotta follow rules. I gotta, do what everyone else would do. So now, does that give them the right to literally beat the dog out of me? Absolutely not.
So you want the officer to
Gone. He gotta go, man. Cause in that instant right there, like, not only did he treat me bad, you know what I'm saying, he also treated my teammates with, disrespect. He had some crazy words towards them, and they ain't even do nothing.
Tyreek Hill saying that he has declined an apology from the officer. The officer's name is Danny Torres, but OutKick's Armando Salguero, friend of the Ricky Cobb show, with the exclusive that an apology, according to Torres's legal team, was never tendered. So we've got a he said, they said situation going on here where Tyreek Hill claims that he rejected an apology. And again, per Armando Salguero, exclusively from OutKick, saying that from Torres's legal team, per his legal representation, they claim that no such apology was ever tendered. So a little bit unclear there, Ronnie, on what is happening. One more word here, Ron, before I get your thoughts on this. Stephen A. Smith was pretty quick to jump in and sort of play the racism card. I thought very preemptively, as I said on this program on Monday, let's let this breathe a little bit. Let's let the facts come in. Stephen A., who is a lot wealthier than I'll ever be, is wealthy to such an extreme partly because he doesn't have that governor. Stephen A. jumps in quick, Stephen A has a hot take, and he had one in this instance as well, but Stephen A. Smith is pumping the brakes a little bit as well. Let's take a look.
Police were excessive. No excuses. They should be ashamed of themselves the way they acted. They just went overboard. Totally true. Especially when it came to Calais Campbell as well, who did nothing and put his arms up. He was no threat whatsoever. Okay, they told him to step back. He stepped back. He let them know that was his friend. Another teammate, Janu Smith, comes in there. He's by his car. He's on the phone. He's clearly not posing any threat. The police officers were definitely agitated. They were wrong. Here's the problem. We all came on the air seeing the initial footage in complete, unadulterated support for Tyreek Hill. You pull over. They tell you to roll down your window. What's the first thing Shannon just talked about? The first thing they do when they pull us over, they pull me over, all my windows are down. My hands on the steering wheel. That is not what Tyreek Hill did. Tyreek Hill had his window up. The officer bangs on, knocks on his window. He didn't bang on his window. He knocked on his window. You hesitated to pull it down. The first thing you say is, don't bang on my window like that. Don't bang on my window like that. Don't bang on my window like that. He asked you for your driver's license. You hesitated to give him your driver's license. You said in the post-game conference, hey, y'all, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill? What if you weren't Tyreek Hill? What would have happened to you if somebody that wasn't Tyreek Hill kept the windows rolled up, hesitated to roll it down, didn't give you the license immediately when you asked for it, and then hesitated to get out the car when they told you to get out the car?
Well, hey, Stephen A. Smith, welcome to where I was on Monday, buddy. And guess who didn't get any clicks on Monday? This guy. Guess who's got 2 thumbs and didn't get clicks? Guess who was fucking right? Guess who did get a lot of clicks on Monday? Stephen A. Smith. Guess who's walking it back now? So, I guess it doesn't really matter. In the climate of 2024, it's better to be wrong with a hot take that gets people all riled up than say, well, hey, wait a minute. Looks like there's some fault on both sides here. I saw the footage. He's like, we saw the footage and we were unadulteratedly supporting. I saw the footage and I saw a guy who didn't comply. I said on this program on Monday, Tyreek Hill could have handled that better. If you comply, there's a 99+% chance that that's a routine traffic stop. I do happen to think that they went overboard. I described the cops as being hot-headed. Calais Campbell was handcuffed per his account. I don't think Calais Campbell, from what I saw, there was any need to handcuff him. I think that the way that Tyreek Hill was manhandled appeared excessive to me. I also said that on Monday, but again, we got to pick a lane. Everybody's got to pick a lane. Somebody's 100% right, somebody's 100% wrong. Guess what? That's not how fucking life works most of the time. Most of the time, it's not just 100-0. Tyreek Hill contributed to that situation happening, and the officers escalated a situation that didn't need to be escalated to that extent. I had that take on Monday. I probably was like a tumbleweed blowing through fucking Dodge City in the 1800s with it, because that's not what people want to hear. People don't want to hear nuance and reason. They want the most outrageous comments. Stephen A. Smith has made himself very wealthy by having very opinionated comments irresponsibly soon after something happens. He's going to walk it back now, and he's going to get another day in the news cycle of people talking about Stephen A. Smith. He's very, very fucking good at it. Very good at it. But not accurate to what we saw in Miami. Ronnie T-shirts. What did I say on Monday, Ron?
Ricky,
What did I say, brother?
Well, I'll tell you, you said you didn't get any clicks for your stance, but you know what I did see? I saw Will Kane, who I respect the hell out of. I saw you on the Will Kane show, and I saw you give the exact same take on the Will Kane show that you gave on the Ricky Cobb show. And do you remember what Will did? Will put what was, I think he had something in his hand. He put it down and he gave you claps. So that's a lot better than
Well-
getting clicks when you give a hot take. When you get the respect of somebody that you respect.
Stephen A. Smith is worth probably $100 million, and Will Kane gave me the clap, is what you're telling me. Who's?
Yeah, well, you know what?
I love Will Kane, but
Money-
I can't deposit his applause in my bank account, Ron.
You know what? This is your show, and you can give hot takes if you want. But you know what? I bet you don't start doing just to make money. I bet you don't start giving hot takes because that's not who you are. One thing about what Tyreek said, he thinks that the officer should be fired. That's silly. The officer, I do believe, was out of bounds. Certainly not a fireable offense.
I am told that he had a clean record in something like 27 years of service. I haven't investigated that independently, but if the cop has had a good record over almost 3 decades, I think that losing his job over this would be a bridge too far. But I do believe that, look, let's just hug it out. I'm sorry. I was a dick. I'm sorry. I got a little carried away.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't have to be like the end of the world. It really doesn't. But
No, it doesn't.
I'm tired of talking about it. So hopefully, one way or another, this thing is resolved. I tweet sometimes, Ronnie. Let's take a look at what I'm tweeting. What do we got? I don't even know what we have today.
I'm sure it's funny.
Producer Tim, well, my batting average is okay. I can't even read that, Ron, but it's safety scissors.
I'll read it.
And
You
I
want me
know
to
the
read it?
gist of what I tweeted. Well, you don't have to. I know basically, right, we grew up in an era where everything was just fundamentally fucking dangerous. Playground equipment was ridiculously dangerous. We played with metal toys. My mom still talks. You remember like Tonka trucks?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like those things were made out of fucking metal, man. They made those out of the same shit they made your dad's car out of. And I remember one time I fell off the couch, hit my knee on the corner of some like fucking quality made toy, and gouged a big scar in it that I had for like 20 years before it finally went away. Now everything I know as a parent myself, everything is made out of plastic, cheap plastic. Everything's rounded off. Every toy is analyzed 9,000 ways to make sure that kids can't fucking kill themselves with it because nobody wants to deal with that lawsuit. But back in our day, it was dangerous. Secondhand smoke everywhere. Kids today can't possibly understand the concept of smoking sections and non-smoking sections. As if the air is going to observe those lines of demarcation, right? It's like, well, he's in the smoking section, but I'm breathing it over here,
Yeah, kind of like COVID. But what about smoke in cars? Like when your parents smoked, especially if you're from a cold city in the winter, and they're like, "Fuck it, I'm smoking," and it looks like the little room at the airport where everybody runs off the plane and goes and smokes in that little room, and it's just billowing with smoke. That's what cars were like.
Yeah, we were all hotboxing it as kids against our will. It's like I'm in the back seat, playing license plate bingo and sucking down more carcinogens than, fucking Jim Leland.
While not wearing a seatbelt.
While not wearing a seatbelt. I used to say that my mama's arm was my seatbelt.
Yep.
When I was a kid, it was mama's arm. Like if she stopped short, the arm came out, and that was what would catch me if she reacted quickly. If she didn't react quickly, I'd rattle around in the floorboard for a while, and she'd yank me up by the collar. She talks about going to the grocery store when I was a toddler with me standing in the passenger seat. This was an overprotective mother, by the way. She was absolutely overprotective, but an overprotective mother by 1970 standards is going to have her fucking kids taken away by Child Protective Services in the modern era. But the exception was those fucking scissors. If we thought that we were going to cut something, they were like, whoa, hang on. Let us give you these dull fucking scissors and see if you can get through the construction paper with those, because apparently running with scissors was the one thing that 70s parents, that was the line that they drew, Ron.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I believe that it's time for us to take a break. On the other side of the... Well, maybe it's not time to take a break. Let's look at another tweet. I'm being told don't take a break. So I won't take a break. Let's see here. We got Larry Bird, and I believe that's my tweet. I can't read it again, but I believe that's my tweet saying that 1980s Celtics Lakers basketball is the aesthetic pinnacle of the sport of basketball, Ron. I don't think it gets any better. I really don't. I understand the three-point shot has forever changed the game. I understand the analytics. I understand that there's guys from Mensa that can provide me with charts and printouts that explain why shooting threes is absolutely the correct strategy. There's a reason everybody does it. I accept that that is effective, and that is just where the game has evolved. But
Yeah.
just
it seems
from a
like-
pleasure of watching it standpoint, the game in the 1980s, particularly the NBA game of the 1980s, that was the most beautiful game.
Yeah, I think every once in a while now we get flashes of it, which is basically it's ball movement, right? And when you see really good ball movement, it's like, okay, now this looks nice. It's orchestrated, almost ballet-like. And the 2015-ish Golden State Warriors, they were pretty close to that. Obviously, they were shooting threes, but I do think that's what really makes basketball just fun to watch. It's the passing. This ISO now. I mean, I think it's boring for us. Hell, I've heard players say that it's boring for them when they've got, a guy on their team that just, James Harden is like, oh, we just stand there and watch James do James. So, yeah, I agree with you, Rick.
Yeah, it was a better game.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.